Hey guys, it's Martin Cliffe here. Welcome to another video. Before we go any further, don't forget to click that thumbs up icon down below the screen. And if you're not already subscribed, and an awful lot of people watching these videos aren't, make sure you click that subscribe button as well so you'll know when I post new videos. If you want to click the notification icon, that helps the YouTube algorithm even more. But really just trying to build up the subscribers as we're approaching 800 and getting gradually towards that 1,000 subscriber giveaway point, which I will talk about at some point in the future. So the title of this week's video is not vintage, but not too modern. And what do I mean by that? Well, I'm looking back at kind of my guitar journey. I've been playing for just over 30 years. And I've taken many twists and turns along that way. But I've never really gone down either a specifically vintage route in terms of sound or in terms of gear, or a cutting edge modern kind of thing. I started out playing a Strat copy because basically it was the guitar that was the cheapest. I had an Encore E78, E76, white Strat copy with a rosewood board, made in India, not great. Then I had a Western Thunder, and then I think an Epiphone Flying V for a while, and then another Western Thunder, and then when that met an unfortunate collision with a concrete floor, I then got a Charvel 275, not the deluxe, quite a difficult one to find any information about. It was fuchsia, it was gorgeous, lovely guitar. And that's possibly the most modern guitar, other than maybe a couple of 7-strings, or even so they weren't particularly modern for 7-strings that I've ever had. And possibly the Les Paul is the most vintage style of guitar, but it's still a 2016 guitar, so it's a new guitar, or a relatively new guitar. Amp-wise, I've followed a pretty traditional kind of tack as well, and I think maybe because I've never been that kind of up to date in terms of, well, the latest fashion, the latest music, any of that kind of thing, I've kind of lagged behind by a few years. Some would say a lot of years nowadays, but so the kind of music that I want to play, the kind of tones that I look for, particularly nowadays, yeah, I'm not going for crazy high gain stuff, but I'm not going for like 60s fuzz sounds either. I have a couple of 60s style fuzz pedals that I don't remember the last time I plugged in. They will be appearing in my Martin's Monday pedal playthrough videos in the new year. But yeah, other than that, I don't remember the last time I used them. So I'm kind of very much going down that kind of middle of the road. I like relatively low gain overdrive pedals. My guitars are, I mean, they're not vintage, they're not like really old school, it's not a Blackguard Telly or something, but it's not like a Strandberg or an Abassi or a Ibanez Quest or something like that. It's a relatively traditional shaped guitar. The two humbuckers in it are Thornbuckers, which are kind of vintage-ish sounding humbuckers. They're relatively low output, relatively open sounding. So yeah, I think that kind of not vintage, not too cutting edge. I've tried a couple of times kind of digital modeling and multi-effects and stuff like that. Doesn't really work for me. I think that's more of a mindset thing than a tone thing. I'm just used to the way that the guitar responds. I don't like wearing headphones, so I don't know that I could ever play into a modeler with headphones. And guitar through studio monitors just never sounds as good as it does through 12-inch Celestion speakers. So I think that's really where that side's coming from. But at the same time, I'm not playing through like Tweed amps and stuff like that. My Black Star amps are pretty clean. If I take the overdrive off, So I'm also not doing the kind of traditional thing of playing a gainy amp and then just backing off with the volume control. It breaks up very slightly, but these are only 10 watt amps, and I'm using greenback speakers in these particular amps. They do sound different. So if I'm only playing through this one, which is the Artisan 10, that has a different tone to the Artist 10 on this side. And in most of my videos, you're actually hearing them panned one to either side, to the sides that they look at when you're looking at the video, which is why it's always important to use a good pair of speakers or headphones, if you must, to listen to videos, not just watch them on your phone. Yeah, still lacking a little bit of voice. We'll get there eventually. COVID sucks. Who knew? So I've gone down this kind of whole journey of, you know, many stages, always taking the kind of middle ground, and I think that has always been something that has worked for me. I think it's important to make your own gear choices depending on what floats your boat. For me, it is a Sir Standard into a few pedals that are mostly analog, into some low wattage amplifiers. I mean, the wattage kind of doesn't matter in the sense that I need low wattage amps because I'm playing in an apartment. But yeah, it's not loud in here. And it works for what I'm doing. I like that when I play live and I turn up the volume a little bit, I do get a little bit more compression, a little bit more speaker compression and stuff. But yeah, I don't have any desire to be in an excessively loud band. I never have. I've always been, apart from a couple of bands, I've always played with drummers who are relatively sensitive and quite gentle is the wrong word, but yeah, they're quite delicate in terms of the way they play the drums. In fact, I'm probably the loudest drummer that I work with. So I think, yeah, finding the path that works for you, depending on who you're playing with, what kind of music you're playing, kind of thing, yeah, is great. Now, the kind of minimalist part of my character always, you know, makes me think that what's the least I could get away with, and really, probably, you know, with a couple of other guitars, looking at, yeah, my 4 Sirs, this pedal board, these amps, I probably could get away with just that. I have a lot more than that. I am looking to reduce it. I'm looking to purge. Still trying to figure out that whole thing, particularly with shipping in Bucharest. And yeah, there are complications with life in Romania at the moment, both in terms of COVID and in terms of the fact that we don't have a car, and my visa situation is still in flux. But yeah, looking to reduce down the guitar collection, because my 4 Sirs are 99% of the time the only guitars I play. Got to keep the Les Paul and a Tele for, and one of the Teles at least for guitar demos and that kind of thing, pedal demos. But other than that, yeah, I mean, I recently took out insurance. And I took out insurance on my gigging instruments because it was musical instrument gigging insurance as opposed to renter's insurance. Everything else is covered under a standard policy. But if I'm out gigging, and I insured my 4 Sirs and my 3 Mike Lowell basses, my M5s, because they are realistically the only instruments I'm ever going to play out. So are they the only instruments I need? This is a whole topic for another discussion. But yeah, really interested to know. Drop a comment below on where you fit in this thing. Are you a vintage freak? Yeah, I have a lot of respect for people who really know the ins and outs of vintage gear and really are passionate about that. That's not me. Are you someone who is always up with the latest trend? Maybe you're using a called Cortex or the new Fractal FM9 or the Helix or whatever it is. Are you using modern headless guitars with Fluence pickups and all that kind of thing? Or I suspect a lot of my audience, because a lot of my audience, in fact, I think 95% of my audience are men between 30 and 50. I suspect an awful lot of us fall into this middle ground of not vintage, but not too modern. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care. I'll see you next week.
Thank you.